Welcome into this edition of Ravens Rundown, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Ravens mandatory minicamp in the books, and with that, we will bring you our latest 53-man roster projection, how we think this team is going to stack up when the 2024 NFL season begins. We'll go over that and more coming up in just a matter of moments. Before we do that, though, I need a roll call from the flock right now. If you bleed purple and gold, here's what I need you to do. Spam R in the comment section as much as you humanly possibly can. I need at least 100 R's in that chat today. Let your voices be heard loud and clear, and we'll get started with today's show. The quarterback position, I think the Ravens carry 3 quarterbacks. And I know that you don't have to carry 3. You only have to carry 2 in the NFL roster, the way things are structured. But with using a 6th-round pick on Devin Leary, I find it hard to believe that the Ravens would just go ahead and not put Leary on the 53-man roster and put him on the practice squad and risk him being taken by someone else as far as that goes. So I do think that they'll go with 3. That also gives them the flexibility to have another option if like we saw with the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship a couple years ago when they were down to no quarterbacks, so you kind of avoid that circumstance. But I would expect those 3 to be the quarterbacks on the roster. The running back room, let's break down that situation for you. Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, rookie Rasheen Ali, Patrick Ricard at the fullback spot, and then Keaton Mitchell. I think it's an important note. He technically doesn't make the 53-man roster as he's on the PUP list. We're not expecting him to be healthy when the season begins, but we're making a note of this, that we believe eventually he does get back on that active 53-man roster when it's all said and done, and the Ravens will have to move some things around when that day comes. The wide receiver position, I am looking at the Ravens going with 6 receivers here, with Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, Tez Walker, Deontay Hardy, who they brought in from the Buffalo Bills, who's more of a return specialist, and then Tylan Wallace, I do have taking one of those spots. That leaves Sean Rhyan out, but with the performance we've seen from Sean Rhyan this offseason, specifically this week at minicamp, I still think he sticks around in the building in some capacity, that we see him on the practice squad, and maybe he gets a chance on the active roster at some point in the year. Doesn't mean he's necessarily gone out of the picture completely. How would you grade the Ravens 53-man roster? I think this is a pretty good group. I think this is a team that's got a realistic shot to compete for a Super Bowl. Give me your grade, A, B, C, D, or F, what you think of this roster. I'm going with a solid A, personally speaking. It's not perfect, though. Still a few holes to fill before the season begins. Let us know in our pinned comment today how you would grade the roster. The tight end position, I see 3 tight ends for Baltimore: Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and Charlie Kolar. And one thing I would say that I have been preaching over the last several weeks is using all 3 of these tight ends. I think that's going to be the key for the Baltimore Ravens to take that next step, especially when you look back at that wide receiver position with the question marks that are there. Why would you not use Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely on the field together more? I still feel pretty good about Charlie Kolar. I think that Charlie Kolar, if given the opportunity, can be a very good tight end, even though he hasn't done much in his first 2 seasons. Using those 12 personnel sets, that's one of the biggest tasks I think that's ahead for Todd Monken, is getting the most out of both those guys and getting Charlie Kolar involved. And I think that this tight end room's the best in football for a reason. Want to make sure you subscribe to Ravens Rundown, as we're bringing you daily Baltimore Ravens coverage you won't find anywhere else. I know that minicamp is in the rear view and we're counting down to training camp, but that doesn't mean we're slowing down here on the channel. Still bringing you our daily news and rumors anytime there's breaking news. If there's a signing, an addition to the roster, a trade, whatever it may be, we're going to bring you a video as quick as we can. We are your Baltimore Ravens offseason headquarters. Subscribe now for free. Join the family of Flock here on Ravens Rundown, youtube.com/RavensTV. Let's shift gears now to the offensive line. And the offensive line remains a big question mark for the Baltimore Ravens entering 2024. I believe this will be your starting 5. Stanley will hold things down at the left tackle spot. Andrew Voorhees at left guard. Tyler Linderbaum at the center position, one of the best centers in the entire National Football League. Ben Cleveland, I think, gets the nod to start at the right guard spot in a very competitive competition. And then the rookie, Roger Rosengarten, who the Ravens are very high on. I think he ultimately wins the job at the starting right tackle position. You look at the backups, the other options that the Ravens have on this offensive line. I think Josh Jones has a role here. I think Nick Samak will also play a significant role as well. Can't forget about Maul. We talked a lot about him last offseason. Been kind of quiet here, but he was a sneaky good find out of Oregon a couple years ago. So with that said, I know that this offensive line is unproven, if you will, but I feel like this group is going to be better than what people think, and they have more options than people realize as well. The biggest question for me is Ben Cleveland ready to answer the call? In the small sample size we saw last year, he looked pretty solid. But what about as a full-time starter? That remains to be seen. What's your confidence level in this Ravens offensive line right now? I feel better than probably most people do. I'm going to go with about a 7 out of 10. What would you guys go with? Scale it for me, 1 through 10 in the comment section, and let us know. Let's shift gears now to the defense. Let's start with the outside linebacker / edge rusher position. And credit where credit's due. We've seen John Harbaugh and this Ravens defense really get the most out of this position without really spending a ton of money over the years, right? When you think about the Justin Houstons of the world and the Jadeveon Clowneys, this group not getting a ton of salary, realistically speaking, but Odafe Owe, he's got something to prove. Kyle Van Noy coming off a season where he had 9 sacks last year. I love Isaac, who they brought in from Penn State this year. I think that he's a little bit of a project, but as he gets more acclimated, I expect him to play a more significant role as the year goes on. David Ojabo, a big prove-it year for him with the injuries that he's dealt with. A lot of potential there, trying to get the player that we saw out of Michigan a couple years ago. And then Robinson, same kind of ordeal as Ojabo. A lot of potential, but still got to put it all together. The defensive line for Baltimore, one of the strengths of this team. Justin Madubuike is back with a brand new contract, and the thing for him is going to be to try to do it all again, right? Was last year a one-hit wonder, or is he going to start putting out an array of platinum albums here over the next couple of seasons? 12 sacks for him last year, and a lot more attention is going to be paid to Madubuike by opposing offenses. Michael Pierce, Brent Urban, Travis Jones, Broderick Washington. You got some good pieces on the D-line. The inside linebacker room. You have the best inside linebacker in all of football in Roquan Smith. We know that Roquan's going to do his thing, and he's coming off the best season of his career last year. But then what do you do next to him? Trenton Simpson, the second-year player out of Clemson, has had a very good offseason, and we saw at times last year when he was out there, he looked like a deer in headlights, but it seemed like it started to click for him. Week 18 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I expect him to do a very good job filling in that void left by Patrick Queen with his departure. Malik Harrison, Chris Board, they'll still be involved. They'll still get playing time. So just because they're not starting doesn't mean they won't be involved. Let's go to the corner room now. And this is, I think, just a terrific group. And you look at what this defense has to work with, and it's going to be competitive. It's not a foregone conclusion of who starts, of what positions we're going to see from these guys, but it's a good problem to have. Marlon Humphrey, he returned this week at minicamp from injury. He's expected to be a full go when training camp rolls around. Nate Wiggins, the rookie out of Clemson, has looked fantastic throughout this offseason. Put on a little bit of weight as well. Brandon Stevens coming off the best season of his career last year. A lot of excitement about what he could potentially bring to the table. T.J. Tampa, I don't feel like is being talked about enough. The 4th-round pick out of Iowa State. Some people had a first-round grade on him. I think he's got potential to be really well. Arthur Maulette was solid last year at the nickelback spot. I think he'll still get playing time. Demarion Williams also in the rotation as well. I think if I were to guess when the season begins, Humphrey and Wiggins are probably your 2 starting outside corners, but that doesn't mean that Brandon Stevens is going anywhere. I think that they'll all see a significant role within this defense, but Nate Wiggins, he hasn't even looked like a rookie. He's matured a lot, and kind of been like a veteran of sorts throughout the offseason conditioning programs we've seen. Do you agree with me? Is Nate Wiggins starting week 1 at outside corner for the Baltimore Ravens? You got 2 options here. Type Y for yes, in for no. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. The safety position, Kyle Hamilton, I think is going to have a fantastic year. I think he's got a chance to be Defensive Player of the Year. He's a little banged up right now, but he's expected to be healthy when training camp rolls around. Marcus Williams is back. Darius Washington's had a good offseason. This could be a position that the Ravens add another safety. They've had discussions with Jamal Adams and a couple other guys. This could be a change when the season actually begins, but can't forget about Kane as well. Bo Braid, the UDFA out of Maryland, who I was shocked didn't get picked. I believe we had about a 4th or 5th round grade on him. I think he stays in the building within a practice squad role. Wouldn't be surprised if he got elevated to the active roster at some point. Special teams, one of the best special teams units in all of football with Justin Tucker back, Jordan Stout doing the punting duties, and Nick Moore, your long snapper for the Baltimore Ravens. If you made it to the end of today's video, we thank you for watching here on Ravens Rundown. Spam flock in the comment section, and we will see you next time. Tyler Jones, have a great day.